And we have to remember that this is a global first. This might not be happening anywhere else around the world. What other schools are doing this, I don't know. But we certainly on the front foot to try and help our parent community, because we value our parent community quite a lot here at St Gregory, and I know that there's a reciprocal appreciation there. So without much further ado, I'll set the scene. But the first thing I want to do is just introduce myself, Don Perner, and I'm the Head of Information and Communication Technologies here at the college. We've got Deb Monty here on the right, and she's the coordinator of The Right Journey, which is our program that guides our boys to becoming young men. We've got Verity Mackay, who's the Year 3 to 6 coordinator at the junior school, and we've got Baltino Vitrano, who's the Director of Students in the senior school. So as a team, the Digital Health and Wellbeing team of the college, we've pretty much got a good cover there with regards to where we come from with our portfolios and also the areas we work in. So I think we've got a good mix there with regards to what we can deliver tonight. But before we do that, I just want to set the scene for us, really important, that you are all being manipulated at this time, and so are we. I put myself in there. We're all being manipulated. But we've been manipulated for a long, long time by big business, companies, money, etc., for particular purposes, whatever they are, for money. And every time I go out to the clothesline, I see a clothes peg. It reminds me of how we were being manipulated before technology. So if I can just jump to my next slide to maybe explain that. When I see those pegs, right, I go out there, and after a particular time, something happens to them. If I was advertising Acme pegs, for example, this would be the ad. It actually, to be truthful, would be saying something like that. Now, that's not to make you laugh. If I was trying to make you laugh, we'd have to get paramedics in here for you. That's companies originally manipulating us to buy their goods more often. I would have liked to have been in the boardroom when the president of the company said, look, our sales are going down, we've got companies creating pegs, what are we going to do? And the guy at the back puts his hand and says, well, let's make them break earlier. Oh, fantastic idea. So you probably know if you go to your peg basket, you've got broken pegs there, because they don't last. Because if I was running that business, maybe I would do the same thing. However, now we've got big tech, companies with enormous amount of money, enormous amount of psychology behind what they do, manipulating us all the time. So for example, the first one I'd probably show you is this one. So this one came across my feed last week. Now, I don't know who the guy is, Mike, etc., but it comes through the feed. There's lots of them. You've probably seen them. And I think to myself, this is exactly what was on the screen. So that gentleman on the left, in 3 months, is going to look like the gentleman on the right. Okay? So what it should say is June 2025 and maybe August 2028, right? That would be a little more realistic. And then I read down further and I saw it said a chair workout. Now, anybody who's done any exercise or fitness knows, okay, you can do some chair workout, but if you're going to look like that, that's probably, it may never happen, right? So basically you've got Buckley's for that period. Apart from that, before I show you the next one, if you do use Mike's Strength Chair Challenge, you'll also have a mansion with a pool, of course. We all know also when we're online shopping or looking for accommodation, things pop up like, there's only one left on this site. Oh, come on, you should hear the expletives come out of my mouth, which I won't say here because I'm too professional, when I see these things. Now, let's go back. At the bottom there as well, the pressure they're putting us on to purchase. I could go through 1,000 things online that are pressuring adults who are smart and well-educated, etc. Look, this came across my feed last week, and this is something to do with what happens if a child has your device, for example. So I'm picking up my phone and I saw this, and look, I'm not squeamish, but it kind of freaked me out as well. So the stuff that's coming out now can be very, very frightening for children, and as you can see, I'm segueing a little bit to our kids. If we're getting influenced by big tech, like we are, can you imagine what's happening with our children who are really in developmental stage with regards to their psychological development and physical development, etc. Does anybody remember Momo? Okay. Look, that freaks me. I've got to get off the screen. That freaks me out, right? There's a lot of things that aren't true on the internet. Have a listen.
The one inside comes from deep listening. Listening to those who have something to offer. People like Don Perner. I never make any decisions without calling up my friend Don.
I'll click that. It's not real. However, it sounds like Morgan Freeman, right? I can show you dozens of things that you would think are true without context, and you'd believe them as well. Look, this
family red flags to report.
3 different dudes showed up claiming to be my daddy. Mom said we're waiting for Maury to sort it out.
Hey, what's been stressing you out lately?
Every time my mom finds my bib under the couch, it smells like Marlboro Reds.
What's the most messed up thing your parents did this week?
They used my stroller to haul beer cans to the recycling center.
How did the family reunion go?
Found out my mom's ex is also my dad's brother, so my family tree is basically a hula hoop at this point.
What's the worst part about snack time?
They keep
I can't, because we haven't got time. I'm not showing you that to say, wow, look, there's babies that are talking. I'm showing you the type of tech that's being used also. If they can make those babies look like they're speaking in a Southern American, whatever it might be, what else is happening online that is fooling our kids, right? Because there's a lot of things we really can't believe. Now this, when we were putting these together, and in a moment I'll pass over to Deb with some serious meat content here, thank you. This is a video we saw which sort of summed up what is happening with our kids at home. Your kids, my kids, although they're a little older now, and also the kids from the staff here. So let's watch that to see how it goes.
Hey kiddo, it's about time for bed, okay?
Okay.
Well, remember, there's a box in the corner over there with all the pornographic material that's ever been made in the world, even the really weird stuff that could scar you for life. I'm trusting you not to look in there, okay?
Okay.
Feelings are for losers.
Oh, and this guy's gonna be in your corner all night just randomly spewing out hateful things. Just ignore him, okay? Well, I don't think you have it. There's an order form on your desk where you can purchase illegal drugs. The mean girls from your school are gonna be standing there talking about you all night. And this Russian hacker's gonna keep asking for your password.
I'm not a hacker. Amazon customer service.
Just need you to ignore him, okay? Love you, buddy.
We ask too much of our kids when we give them a smartphone. Let's change the norm. Together.
Maybe we go around Rome and share social security numbers.
Join the movement at smartphonefreechildhoodus.com.
I'll get it anyway.
We'll show you some statistics later that are quite alarming with regards to how many of our students in junior and senior school might be in a situation like that where they have all that access. So that's kind of alarming. And the statistics that are not global, they're not American, they're our statistics here. Oh, and by the way, we certainly understand it's difficult for parents. This is going to be a tough job. We're not making light of that. The government has done something seriously good at attempting it, and we need to sort of get on board. And if we can help each other, that's why we're here, to try and get through this for our children's sake and for your sake as well. So, quickly, you can see the government's putting out lots of information. Over past years, they talked about Life Be In It and other things when they had initiatives. This is a big one for our government, telling also kids and others as well what's happening. So that's pretty important. So tonight, really, hopefully, we'll talk about the laws, totally clear on what the laws are. We know them back to front. We're going to talk about the rationale behind it. We're going to talk about the stats we have here with regards to health and well-being and what our kids are doing, not our kids over in Alabama, but our kids are doing, and also provide you with resources and also strategies to help you along the way, and also some further support down the track. Now, what I'll do is hand over to Deb Monty here, and she'll give you a quick rundown on the rationale of the program as well.
Alright, so as Don said, I'll be talking to you a bit about the why behind this ban coming in. This is not about overreaction or overprotection, or trying to control our children. This is 100% about protection at its absolute core. Not overprotection, because we need to protect our kids. We all love our children. We bring them into this world with our biggest hopes, and sometimes our biggest fears. And for me, this one is one of our biggest fears, seeing the way that it's impacted our young people, and that we now are in a fantastic position that the government is supporting us as parents and allowing us to try and win back childhood for our children. Okay, so for the first one, I'll click on over. We'll talk about the adolescent brain. Okay, so here you'll see an image. We've got some sort of MRI scans, I'd say, of the brain. So we'll see them developing 5-year-olds. It's sort of like your less mature brain. 20 years old is when we're still not there. About 28 is when they say the prefrontal cortex, that part that's about decision making, rational decisions, emotional regulation, all those sorts of things. That's when it develops. In men, I think it's a hell of a lot later, but you know, we'll stay till the
That was a joke.
So look, in all honesty, 25, 28 is when it's just about mature. Okay, so none of our kids are there yet. So 16 I still think is young, but the government had to start somewhere. When we scroll and click in social media and like all those things, it's exactly the same reward system as when people gamble, use illicit drugs. Any addiction follows the same neural pathway. And it's really hard to break that pathway, especially if it is used from a young age. And our young kids are using this pathway. I mean, I'm sure you've seen children in prams with apps and phones. No judgment here, but it's something that we need to disrupt. Our children's brains aren't developing like they should. Okay, we are seeing scans where grey matter is actually not developing or it is actually receding in excessive use. And we're developing this pathway of addiction from a very young age. Okay, I remember Mrs. Clark was telling me at one time that there was the book parade, and we all know that that's pretty wild down there, and there's colours and lights and there's music and everything's crazy, and there's a little baby in a pram with a phone. So instead of getting her enjoyment from the real world and seeing all these beautiful characters and talk, was engaged with the phone, and it's just heartbreaking. And again, not judgment, it's just heartbreaking that that's where we've ended up at this point. Okay, as I said, it's the same sort of dopamine boost that we get across all of these different things. Sugar, social media, caffeine, alcohol, video games, substance use, all of these things are the same pathways. These are our addictions. The research says that the earlier we're addicted to something, then the easier it is for us to develop addictions throughout our lifetime. And a lot of our kids we are seeing are addicted to social media, to gaming. Gaming as well is another whole ball game that we won't be discussing much tonight, but I know from what I've been looking at and the research you've been looking at too, that will be very much up in front and centre, I think, with the E-Safety Commissioner in the coming years, or coming months probably. Adult platforms. These things were designed for adults, not for kids. Okay, the guys out there in Silicon Valley who design these things like, put this out there, this is where it's adult platforms, but we'll get our kids, we'll hook them. Because then we've got more users. The more users we have, the more money we make. I'll show you later, these guys don't even let their kids on it. Alright, so what we see here is, in our survey, that a lot of the parents here, we said 380, yep, something like that. So they didn't all have to answer all of them. So said that they are, 64% they're saying that they are not concerned that the child is accessing inappropriate content. Wow. The data we have from anonymous surveys in the primary school and in the senior school is a totally different story. When I saw this, I was like, wow, I really thought that more parents would be concerned and thinking, oh, I know they've seen it. John will go into some details later regarding what our kids are telling us and where this gap is. Yep.
Is it under 16 only, this survey?
This was a parent survey. So this was a parent survey that we sent out, and this was what the parents are saying, so that they were 64% are not concerned that their kids are sending, their kids are okay and not sending much online.
Can I jump in for a second?
Of course you can.
So the stats that I will show later are from students who are under 16.
Right, okay, sorry, that's what I meant. Yep. Okay, so I just want to do a real quick question here. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but did anybody here see, obviously hear about it, see the shooting of Charlie Kirk or the stabbing of Irina Zaritska on the bus? So put down if you did see it. I accidentally stumbled upon it and it was absolutely horrifying.
Child showed me.
Okay, so that's where I'm leading you to. So it was very early and I was talking to my mum and I was saying how upset I was by it, and I just tried to show her an image of the woman, not Charlie Kirk. That was a different thing I was talking about. And this live reel came up. And this was only on Google. So this was obviously before Google got across it and wiped it. So I saw this beautiful young lady, her life snuffed. And I actually still can't deal with what I saw. It comes to me at times and I shiver. Our young people saw it, and oftentimes, and again, I can't say this is with judgment, but oftentimes with glee, they were showing other kids. "Whoa, did you see that?" And they were showing other boys. Like on the bus, my young boy, I went to show it. He said, "No, I don't want to watch that," and they walked away, thankfully, because I've told him that's his response to these sorts of things. So, Dawn will show you some stats later about this inappropriate content. If your child said they didn't say or didn't speak to you about it, there is a big chance that they didn't say it. Okay, because it was everywhere, and it was discussed over and over and over again. This Charlie Kirk was made out to be one way, and this the guy that did Stabs Arena was made out to be one way, and the talk and the discussion around it was just horrifying. These two people, like their lives were just put on a stage. Their kids, their wives, parents, family, they all just had to sit there while this conversation went around about who they were, what they'd done, why they deserved it or didn't deserve it, and when it comes back to the fundamental core, two lives were just taken. Okay, whether you agree with who they are or all that sort of stuff, that's beside the point. Two lives were taken and people had to experience that, and our kids are seeing it. Our brains aren't designed to see that. Okay, we are designed to have this, we are designed to detect threats, you know, saber-tooth tigers, those sorts of things back in the day. I don't know if it existed at the same time as them, but whatever. But we're not designed to see this repetition. It actually damages the areas that talk about empathy, compassion, sensitivity. We become desensitized and it just becomes another number and another face that means nothing. Okay, this is what's happened. This is another reason why. So some kids were signing up, 8 years old, saying they're 13. We move along a few years. The content that gets directed by the algorithm moves with their age. Okay, so these young people, he's 13, but he's now getting sent stuff like for 18-year-olds. And this is where they think they're getting through a loophole, they're getting onto this stuff, but what it is doing is just sending them content that they are not ready for. You are certainly not ready for your children to be viewing that sort of stuff. And our kids are growing up, in a sense, being exposed to grown-up things, but they're not growing up, okay, because it's really keeping it at that young age where they're not processing it, they're often putting up a guard against it, and so therefore that's not a part of their brain they even develop. Alright, so it's affecting the way they're going to see people in the future, relationships, other people, compassion, it's all being manipulated and skewed. Okay, so I'll go through this pretty quickly, they're quite self-explanatory. So this is just a graph that's showing that basically with the hours of use on smartphones, again, not social media necessarily, but smartphones in general, you can see for our boys, it actually shows that a bit of smartphone use, where are they? Was actually quite good, and actually not really a bad effect at all. But then we see over 2 hours, the negative effects creep in. And our girls are really negative, but it just is negative effects for girls and far outweighed for boys, and obviously it increases quite steeply with hours per use. And again, reporting on that survey, talking about screen use and social media exposure, what our parents are reporting and what our kids are reporting, there's a very big gap divide. Okay, so there's obviously a lot going on that maybe you're not aware of, and again, it's not a judgment, okay, because you can't be with your kids at all time, and you want to believe when they're speaking to you and telling you what they're doing. Okay, so that's what we're just talking about. So on the next one, we're talking about the way that there's two y-axes here. So this one over here is the red line, all right? So the red line talks to us about their mental health index overall. Okay, the higher the number is worse. All right, so what we can see here is that mental health has gotten worse and worse and worse over time. All right, we can see these different things. So this is just if you own a smartphone is the green, accessing the internet on a phone or mobile device, so they're all the different categories, and I can send this to you to look at it in more depth. But the biggest thing that I can see is that at 2012, which is when social media became portable, it's when it really took over. I mean, phones came in earlier and stuff like that, but this is when it really became mainstream communication. Instagram jumped up, right? That's when we're here. You see that mental health just goes through the roof. When all of these social media things, social media means getting social, getting connected, and what it's done is the absolute reverse for most people, especially our young people. All right, our sleep, our focus on learning, again, a lot of parents said that it's not affecting their kids' sleep in this survey. Well, then it has got a lot of information that says a very different picture. Okay, we know that for sleep is super important, it's important for our brain development. At night when we go to sleep, our brain basically has this messy desk and it goes in and it cleans and it files things away and it chucks the rubbish out. And if we're not sleeping, that desk is just getting messier and messier and there's no filing being done. We can't sort, we can't sift, and we become overwhelmed and anxious about what's going on in our head. Okay, we can't develop, we can't repair, we can't rest, we can't recuperate. All of these things are occurring in our sleep. And even if we're getting sleep, some of it's not that restorative sleep, there's no REM, there's no deep, there's all these different stages you have to go through each night to be able to actually benefit from your sleep. And our kids aren't hitting that mark, unfortunately. All right, so again, we're talking about them being social, outside and offline. All right, so there is reports that say the more time offline, the greater the increase in happiness. Okay, I know myself, if I sit inside and look at my phone and I get off, I feel worse. And I'm shorter with the kids. If I go outside and hang out in the bush, or even hanging the washing on the line in the sunshine, I think I come back in feeling better. All right, so it's happening for our kids too, but on a grander scale. Where a lot of people are afraid of letting the kids out and about in towns. Our towns aren't being developed well, in that there are spaces for kids to go and be free and run around unsupervised. And all of that is impacting the kids are staying inside, online, in our houses, where we think they're safe. Okay, so just a bit more about how outside does benefit us in terms of mental health, and that real friendships in person are way more valuable than online friendships. Okay, and again, this talks about the daily time with your friends in minutes and how it's declined over time. So these are our 15 to 24-year-olds. Used to be the highest, hanging out with your mates, having a great time. It's got the strongest decline. The rest of us sort of, hanging out at similar times that we used to. A little bit less for most people, but overall you can see that effect for those older kids. Okay, the why the band, all right. It's all the things that I've just told you. We need to do all those things. We need to protect our kids. We need to help them become humans that you will enjoy. I mean, it'll be really hard if you've fought with your children their whole life because they've been down and you are at constant loggerheads, and then you get older and they've got like strange relationships. Okay, we all know that. I know a lot of people are sick of fighting with kids about screen time and Roblox and all these types of things. All right, so we're trying to keep the kids safe. We are making it a worldwide first. I think without risks, there are never benefits, and this is a huge risk. The world is watching, the world is waiting to see if we fail. I don't think we can fail with this. It's not going to be a silver bullet. Okay, it's the first step in a very, very long process that will eventually keep making safe. We might not see the fruits of this for 5-10 years. All right, and those 6-week holidays that you've got the kids work without us, I think we'd like to hear the report back how it goes. But we're doing it to protect our kids. That's the ultimate reason. Okay, last few slides. I know that I've had a very wild childhood, and I'm trying to do the same for my kids. Not a wired childhood, getting offline outside. This one really stuck with me. So Gen Z, I'm not very good, I think I'm an X, I don't know, must be the ones after me, were raised by the internet. Okay, the internet we've seen on another graph isn't that bad in terms of its effects on mental health. But this new generation are raised by the algorithm. And the algorithm is simply just being fed content, you're consuming it even if you think that you're not. And this is the closing bit. The 3 big fellas that designed all this, right, that take your money, that take your kids' lives, your mental health. There are so many young people who have taken their lives because of these things. All right, I'm in a group called the Heads Up Alliance. We are very strongly connected. I've met numerous parents whose children have taken their lives, and these guys here don't let their own kids have it. They send them to Montessori schools. They don't have iPads in their rooms. They don't let them access the internet. They may watch TV occasionally. But they're happy to feed it to our kids, to feed it to us, prey on the weakest, because what does it do? It gives them money. I just missed it.
Thank you. Well, giving an Italian a microphone is not a really good idea because you use your hands. So wait till you see Baldino give that. This section is not very long. Not very long, because it's about the law. Most of it's black and white. A little bit of grey area, which we'll talk about as well. So I won't take too long. Not perfect, but it's certainly they're giving it a shot, right? So we're trying. The government's really giving it a chance. It's not perfect by no means, and there's two sides of the story we can debate about it. Let's get into the actual laws. Okay, so we've got the minimum age we know is 16, right? Now, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm going to move here. It's up to the platforms. The responsibility falls to the platforms to age verify, and they're going to use a waterfall technique, which means basically multifaceted. They can't use one technique. So, for example, they'll use facial recognition, which we know is not perfect. About 18 months either side of 16, there's errors that can occur. So there's going to be boys and girls who are 17 who are going to be blocked because facial recognition says they're young. So issues that can occur. The tests were poor with regards to Indigenous people and people from Southeast Asian backgrounds. So there's some issues there. So the companies have to rely on other means as well. And one of them is behaviour technology. I think they call it inference, behaviour inference, which means their technology will judge by the behaviour online an age verification. So for example, if a parent decides to give their child their account, which they shouldn't do, because the law says that, not because I say it, and the young child is on that account, the behaviour inference will find what they're doing online and make a judgment on an age for what they're doing. So for example, if they're online mostly at night time because they're at school during the day, or all of their friends are of a certain age, or they're searching for particular things, the platform will deem that they are under 16 and will close that account. So that's the second method. Also, one of the last methods is identification verification, which means from a document of some sort. Now they'll be able to do that, and the government has said to them that if they do use that form of verification, because they're going to have to use a few things that check millions of people online, if that occurs, the company must destroy that or delete that information immediately after it occurs. So otherwise, people will be jumping up and down, putting on a driver's license or a passport or a birth certificate online. We know that. So the onus is on the platforms to do that, and there's a good reason why they might succeed, but however you and I know, first time ever, we don't know who's going to be able to get through the system when it comes to these accounts and who won't. No parental override. Now I know in some other countries, in the UK for example, I think there's parent override. If the parents give their permission for a particular platform, that occurs. No, that doesn't occur here. It's against the law for parents to override this. So if a parent does, we may not know about it because no one's in your houses, but the platform will find it, and it's their job, and it's against the law if they don't take it down, if that makes a bit of sense. So you can see what's happening there. As I said before, any sensitive data, they've been told they must delete that or destroy that immediately. No grandfather clause. That means existing accounts. So if you've got a 12-year-old or 11-year-old with an account, they're not allowed to continue with that account. So that's called the grandfather clause. Those will be deactivated or eliminated by those companies as well, as you can see. And the reason why they probably will is because there's up to the $50 million fine for that. So, look, for a big company, that might not be a lot of money, but if it was me, I wouldn't want to pay $50 million for an error or something like that. Okay, so $50 million is a reasonable hit by the government for these platforms to get moving and do the right thing.
And would that be per breach?
Yes. That's right.
Be a lot more than 50.
So
Exactly.
100
Exactly.
accounts.
So you've got to give them credit for trying to hit big tech, because it's big tech that we're talking about here. And technology's not all bad. And we don't want to come across thinking that, because it's not. Right? I make my living out of it, but that's not what it's all about. It does some really wonderful things. Wonderful things. So that's not what this presentation is about. It's about big companies taking advantage of all of us, money going through the roof, not caring about children's health and well-being. Oh, come on. Albanese, like him or not, and his government and the E-Safety Commission, congratulations for at least trying to help keep our kids safe. A couple more. Starts on December 10, as we know. Now, I forgot to mention also, this can be a conversation, as the gentleman did before. Please ask questions as they come up, and we're happy to answer them as best we can. So if you have a question about the laws, please do so now. Is that, yes?
Do you have any idea how, it'll be policed as to whether the social media company is actually, for example, deleting documents?
Yeah.
I can't imagine how they would do this.
I haven't seen any information about that, so I'm making some of my own inferences,
Yeah.
that they will be auditing companies and checking accounts in their own way to see if they're accounts from people who are under 16 years of age. I'm not sure about that, but if they're true to their word in the legislation, they'll police it the way they police every other legislation. They'll have bodies and entities and people that will be charged for that. So I can't give you exact
No, that's
information.
right, I wasn't sure if you.
That's okay. It's a good, really good question. It's a really good question. Any other questions about the laws at this stage? They're pretty clear.
So what is the categories for social media? Is it only covering Instagram? Is it YouTube inside that one? Or
That's
what
an
kind of
excellent
social-
question, and you know what? My next slides will show that. So thank you. I'll give you that $20 later for asking the question. So let's get to that. This is from the E-Safety Commission website. This is how the category sits. The first two are a little bit confusing because they're very similar. So if you have a look, if a company or a platform falls into these criteria, they'll be deemed to be banned. So if a company's sole purpose or significant purpose, now take those with a grain of salt, that word significant, is for social interaction between end users, they will fall under that category. Secondly, if they allow users to interact then with each other, they'll fall under that category. And also, if it allows them to post material, etc., on that service. So people who have accounts on there will be able to see things that are posted, etc., and interact, and not necessarily interact with the right type of people that we want them to. Now, that's the criteria. I hope that clears it a little bit. Yeah.
All three, or any one of them?
As far as I understand, all three. But I'll show you some of the platforms that might clear it up a little bit now, because the next slide shows you what they've definitely banned, and maybe that'll help because they're examples. Now remember, some information is not available yet. We've got the latest, we've pretty much got the latest stuff about what this, but watch what happens in the next few weeks with the information from the Safety Commission, etc. Because some things, I'll get to that in a minute, I'll show you. For example, TikTok, the obvious ones, YouTube. Now YouTube, misinformation, your children will still access YouTube if they wish, but they cannot open an account. So if they had an account, it will be deactivated and they can't open a new account, but they can still view YouTube. And there is so much value. There is so much value on that platform, it's not funny. So it would be, a problem to be able to stop that happening, educationally and otherwise. Twitter, look, not so much, I think. Young people not really onto that, but because it has that same criteria, Twitter's out. Instagram, I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's fairly black and white. Reddit, Snapchat, and also Facebook. And after I created this slide, I looked up here. I don't want you to think that St Gregory's been so please don't ring that and say Dan, St Greg's, because we're pretty social here, right? Okay. So any questions about those definites? Yeah.
I was just going to ask, is Messenger Kids included in that, because that's part of Facebook, that's next, isn't it?
I'll give you $20 as well, next slide. So, exempt. So far, at this stage, exempt. Kids Helpline.
Well, that's helpful.
Health, by the way, online gaming, exempt. I'll get to that in a moment. Another $20, sorry I'm not giving you more money. Providing education, health services. You can see the categories that they're looking at. We should use this one. Anyway, let's keep going. YouTube Kids, safe, etc. Educational platforms. They name Google Classroom. We use Google Classroom here. We also use a waterfall technique to ascertain whether students have used plagiarism or AI here. We're ahead of the game. For years we've been using not just one platform to do that. So the waterfall technique for these people is what's necessary. We do that as well. I won't go into that because that's not what tonight is about. Kids Messenger, I don't use that so I'm not too familiar with it, but WhatsApp, obviously, and Headspace, which is your mental health platform as well, exempt. And I imagine anything else that falls under those categories either has been exempt or will be over the next few weeks before December 10. And I imagine it's a fluid space, so there's a lot of companies out there, and their job is to make sure they're fitting in the right criteria there. Okay, to be decided, maybe this will help a little bit. There's Roblox, right? To be decided, because there's a loophole there. Because majority and significant volume is for gaming purposes, and they're not trying to stop young people from playing their games online, because the world has changed. For good or bad, not my judgment, they do play a lot of games online and they get a lot of enjoyment out of that. So Roblox has slipped through, but the E-Safety Commission has other powers, and they have denoted or directed Roblox and others like Discord, I think, as well, that they must look at safety mechanisms for underage 16s as well, with regard to content that they access. So even though they slip through the system, credit to the E-Safety Commissioner for directing them to ensure that they improve their safety for young people. Watch this space. I'll go a bit quicker. Yes.
What is the source of this addiction? When we know the source, then we can tackle it and we can solve it. All these things are good, but when we're not able to tap the source, then it will be hard to fix the problem.
It is. If I understand the question, the source of the addiction, you said, is that right? Look, Deb's probably better at answering that one. We're talking interaction with what's online. Same with pornography, right? Which we're not talking about tonight. The type of physiological response to things like gaming, gambling, and pornography as a physiological response like dopamine. It's the same type of addiction. I think Deb actually mentioned it. The addictions that you have to drugs and those things we mentioned just then are the same sort of source for these ones as well.
Yes, I'll just step in. So with dopamine, so you're meant to earn your dopamine, right? So we earn our dopamine through speaking in front of big crowds and jumping out of planes, doing going to a football grand final, acing a test. All things you work hard for, you build up courage, you try your best. Things like, things like something like breeding eggs. Okay, my kids got given that in early daycare, and at first I thought, oh, this is a cute little game. And then when I was like, all they wanted to do was go, even don't care if they get it wrong. And so they got a gold coin, and then their little egg got to change colours. So straight away being taught, you're doing this just for the reward. So that's their little dopamine getting hit over and over again. So flashing lights, dopamine hit. A like, dopamine hit. You post something, anxiety, get a like, dopamine hit. So what's happening is our actual whole feedback system is just being depleted. So to get that dopamine again, we need to go something bigger and harder.
Yeah, but the screen time, if it is 1 hour or 2 hours, is fine. But it goes like...
Well, it's not, so it's not, we can't go that basic. It's not just the screen time, it's what you're looking at. You can watch TV for 5 hours and you're pretty bored, I guess, by the end. But you're not getting that same over and over dopamine hit, that wearing out. So TikTok, 30 seconds. 30 seconds shorts, less. Okay, so it's this constant moving, lights, colour, action, over and over again. So kids can't focus on the one thing. They don't bring information in, process it, then have a reply. It's like moving to the next thing over and over again. It goes back as far as letting a baby watch TV. They say not to because in real life, if someone kicks a ball, the baby sees the ball go kick, roll, and stop. So the neural pathway goes like this. Oh, a ball gets kicked, it rolls, and it stops, and you make a loop. Right? On TV, you see it get kicked, and then they cut to the next scene in the Summer Bay diner, right? So the baby goes, well, where did it go? So the neural pathway goes, and stops. So we're getting all these half-finished pathways, so the addiction is, I need to do something to get that dopamine hit again and again and again and again. And we're breaking that system, basically. Is that okay?
That's a pretty good answer. So it's complex. It is complex. So I'll keep trying to use this. Thanks, Deb. That's right. So watch this space with regards to things like roadblocks and Discord, etc. And whatever might pop up next week. Like seriously, it's a quagmire of a world that we're living in. All right. So be aware of this as well. Right. Remember, it's a law. It's a good law. It's not foolproof. Who knows what 4chan is? Yeah, get a load of that. Okay, 4chan is a posting billboard site with some pretty dark stuff. Because you don't have to open an account, and it's not actually social people interacting but viewing content, it slips through the system. So regardless of our government doing what we're doing, the first in the world, we still have to be wildly vigilant with our kids and what they're doing, regardless of what, under 16 or not.
Is that an app or a website?
It's a website as far as I know. I don't know if there's an app because I don't actually like even looking at stuff like that. So I don't know. No, it's a good question. It's a good question. And I'm not going to say go home and have a look.
I
I don't want to.
I think a lot of them can be our websites as well, though.
Yeah.
The app is the easy way to get to, but
Yeah.
all you can access all of them
Yes.
via
Yeah,
websites.
yeah.
Most of the ones we're talking about have app and web-based
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I just don't know about that
That's okay.
myself personally. So be aware that just because there's a ban and your kids are towing the line, that doesn't necessarily mean they're seeing content they shouldn't, right? My daughter's 22 now, and when she was like 14 or 15, it was like, you know, like Bambi, you know, the Disney character Bambi, big eyes, wouldn't her to fly. Right, that's what she's like. When I took her iPad off her at a certain time of night and said, that's it, right? Bambi turned into the Tasmanian devil. And I heard things getting thrown around, and I was going to go in, and my wife said, just let her run, let her fizzle out. And I did, right? Next night I did the same thing, give me the iPad, there was less noise and stuff going on in there. The third night, she said, Dad, here you go, at 7 o'clock, right? I went, oh, Father of the Year, right? I started writing my speech, Father of the Year. This is excellent. Next night, there you go, Dad, good night. Right? Fantastic. I was cleaning up her room 2 days later. Underneath the pillow was an old phone she found, right? Hooked it up to the Wi-Fi. I was part proud because I had an IT, right? Part proud, part humiliated as well. So for about 3 days she was pretty well in the world, smart as a whip, right? And this girl, like, wouldn't hurt a fly, seriously. So be careful with what's happening there. All right. I need to pass on, so I've taken a little bit of time, but are there any questions about the laws? We've got a pretty good understanding of how they sit, not perfect. Watch this space for some of it, and what other things might pop up. At this point, I'm going to pass over to Verity to talk about the health and wellbeing and some stats from the junior school, which I think you'll find very interesting.
So, when I joined this group last week, I think was my first meeting. It was, yeah, been quite quick. We decided to do a survey down in the junior school to get some data from our kids. Rather than looking at worldwide data or global data, we thought, let's actually look right here in our backyard. And I've got to say, I was quite shocked by some of these statistics, but so were the teachers themselves down in the junior school. So the years 3 to 6 actually did a Google survey, so the pretty graphs are from 3 to 6, but I also took data from K to 2, so there'll be some averages that have come up as well. So this is just about owning their own smart device. So do they have an iPad, iPhone, etc.? And you can see that the majority have their own, and even some still use mum and dad's. So there's very, very few that actually do not have access to a smart device at home. That's 3 to 6. K to 2, 77% of them had their own device, which I was really shocked at, K to 2, and a further 8% using mum and dad's phones. So a tiny, tiny amount actually don't have access to some sort of smart device. This was quite worrying because I collected data K to 2 and then I had to break it down further to actually K to 1 because 20% of kids in Kindy and Year 1 don't use any social media apps. But once you hit Year 2, that number decreases drastically. Only 5% of Year 2 students do not use any social media apps. And then 3 to 6, it declines even further, it's 3.7%. So pretty scary statistics there. These are the kind of apps that they're using. So you can see that YouTube is a big one, and as we said, that platform won't be blocked for them to view, but they just won't be able to have an account. Roblox is a big one, which obviously they're still deciding. But there are some, there's 3.7 that don't use any. The Discord one, we were sort of talking about that, again, a bit worried about that one. Again, how often we're using it, if you look at the red and the blue, that is either multiple times a day or once a day. So you're looking at, well over 60% of students are using these social media apps on a regular daily basis, or if not multiple times a day. For K1, an average 10% use them multiple times a day, with 27% using once a day, and then those numbers grow significantly in Year 2, so 46% of kids using it multiple times a day and 26% using it once. That's just to show you that we had a range of ages when we did the questionnaire, that it's not all from just one age group, it was a good spread. And then this last one over here is how important are these apps to you? So this was interesting in that there was quite a significant amount that said important or very important, but there was also a really large amount that said that they weren't that important to them. So that kind of tells us that this is the sort of age that we need to be getting in there and stopping their social media use, because they're actually using it maybe because other people are using it, but aren't actually going, oh, this is super important, I have to have this. And the cater twos, they sort of said it was even less important. And we also asked just the 3 to 6s. Cater 2 didn't quite understand this question. How did they feel about the band coming? Yes, large percentage said terrible idea. But again, quite a number said that they don't mind either way of you saying that it was a great idea. So again, they seems to be the right kind of age to be pulling these social media apps away from them. And now over to Mr. Trano for the senior school.
Thank you, Miss. As we can see, the hall set's clearly altered. By the time our young people get to high school, we have students already very much in tune with gadgets, online, socialising, viewing things. You've just heard it all. I just want to spend some time this evening just with parents and obviously people at home who will be watching this clip. Just going over a couple of the scenarios and situations that come through my office as to a result of maybe social media, disagreements outside of school and things that flare up and then come into the classroom or come into the school grounds, or students feeling extremely anxious, depressed, students feeling isolated, disconnected from families, disconnected from friends, a spike in self-harm, lacking motivation. They're the key kind of elements that we seem to find, and we can very quickly connect those situations with particular use of social media or particular decisions they make when they're online or what they're exposed to and the relationships they're having online as well. It's always been about searching for a sense of belonging. If young people feel that they belong, that's all they're craving. I can always find, whatever situation, whatever outcome, it's that sense of belonging that they're craving for. So in saying that, I'm always having constant conversations with students about social media issues and where they stem from and the pitfalls of that. Obviously, the toxic ramifications of online interactions are at times incredibly harmful and leaving young people extremely overwhelmed. Young people today are behaving differently, they're interacting differently, they're speaking differently, and I just want to give some people, parents and guardians and in the room, an idea of a particular language or particular themes young people are kind of interacting with these days that I'm confident a lot of people in this room may not be aware of. And I'm always trying to learn and ask questions when I'm interacting with young people, just to get a sense of what does that mean? How does this phenomenon or technique or whatever is going on in the digital world, how does it work? Why are you so connected to it and so on and so on? So I've put up a few descriptions or behaviours that might be seen. I've got them in different categories. So I've got the sexualised and explicit behaviour. So some of those terms there, like sexting and sextortion and thirst trap and body challenges and mimicking particular styles that we see in pornographic websites, catfishing. And then we've got things like psychology and emotional risks. And I'm happy to give definitions if people are not too familiar with what these terms are, trauma dumping, sad fishing, and so on. FOMO is a very, very common one, directly or indirectly, the fear of missing out, the fear of not being invited to a party, or the fear of a gathering, or not being in a particular private chat which is going on with a particular group of people, and they're being removed or not included, and the mind games that occur in the background are so detrimental. Doom scrolling, and so on and so on, and it's a lot more. Risk and harmful social trends. The challenges are online. People tend to self-diagnose themselves while they're having chats online or posting things online about having particular labels, ADHD, and so on, or spectrum disorders. Obviously, the trolling, revenge posting. It's a minefield of negativity and sadness and just. I feel for young people trying to navigate through all of this. Obviously, the oversharing of location is an interesting one. They always want to show, some particular people want to show off where they're going or where they are, and are happy to post and share the locations of where they are at the moment, just to make their whatever they're doing, if it's YouTube, on TikTok or whatever, just to show off in terms of those particular parameters. Creeping is an interesting one. That's come across my table a few times. Boys are explaining, a particular student was creeping. They go, creeping, what do you mean by that? And very basically, it's an understanding of they're stalking the other person's social media contents. And they're not really posting or saying, but they know they're kind of viewing that platform that another particular student has created, and so on and so on. Obviously being scammed and fake giveaways, there's plenty of that going on. The influencer mimicking is an interesting one. The other day, I was downstairs and I could hear my daughter upstairs, and she just had a shower and come out. And then all of a sudden I hear her going, all right guys, so today we're going to try out this new lip liner. And I'm going, what is she doing? So I ran upstairs and go, Sophia, what are you doing? She goes, what that? I go, are you talking to someone? Are you posting? She goes, no, I'm just talking in the mirror. So she's kind of whatever she's seeing online, she's mimicking, and she's kind of acting out if she was to post something online, and so on and so on. And I was going, well, that's what they're absorbing, that's what they're seeing. So there's a lot of that going on, and obviously the main character syndrome as well, where basically they want to be the main character. They want to post all these wonderful things about themselves and show off in a particular way about everything being fantastic. I guess what it comes down to is my biggest concern out of all this, and why I'm so in favour for these kind of bans to come into place, is the lack of sleep young people are getting. Now, parents who we surveyed recently, and we had a number of surveys, were really kind of in tune, thinking, no, about 53% of parents were happy to say, no, my son gets plenty of sleep. Well, I believe it's quality sleep. Whereas the boys, when we kind of tracking them over a number of years, and we've been doing a particular study here at St. Greg's with the Black Dog Institute, the Future Proofing survey, which doesn't run over a year. It runs over year 8, year 9, year 10, 11, 12. So you've got a good 5-year block of our students, and that's the data of our current year 12s as they finish the study in 2025. Basically looking at their sense of sleep. Now, out of all, it's not just on sleep, this data that we've received. The data talks about the general well-being of our students, and we are getting fantastic data about the general well-being of our students here at St. Greg's, which I'm really proud of. And obviously the boys are happy, they're flourishing, they're relational with each other, with staff. In that space, we are really blessed. The only pitfall and the only thing that we kind of dropped off, and it's a drop-off in general in our society, was sleep and insomnia. Insomnia came in as a real concern. So if we look at this kind of graph and the way it's set up, you want to be below the 5 to have good sleep. records saying that you're getting a good sleep quality. Anything on 5 or above, not so good. Okay, so we're basically not tracking very well in that area. I see it daily. You know, we have assemblies in the mornings on a Friday here at school, and it doesn't take long to look over and you see the old boy in each year group going to sleep in an assembly. So it's 9 o'clock in the morning, you should be up and ready to go to school, and young people are falling asleep at the start of the school day. So they've got no chance for the rest of the day. Where does this all stem from? Well, it stems from the amount of time they spend on devices late at night. Whatever's happening in those households, whatever devices they've got in their bedrooms, it's that idea that they're not really settling down into quality sleep and being on these devices too late. And with these apps obviously supporting this kind of, all the data you've just been given in the last 45 minutes or so kind of comes down to this. So I guess what's really another element of importance is that I wanted to mention was, and we kind of touched on it really quickly, was gaming. Now, I know some of the gaming apps are not being kind of looked at like the other apps are, but I know gaming is a major concern, and the socialising of gaming is really important. So I get a feeling that when you play a game like Roblox, or you know, a game where a number of people get together to socialise and play, it's the conversations that happen in those games which create problems. The gaming itself, yeah, you've got the addiction to play, and to win, to whatever, but it's also the conversational part when they're having disagreements about the game online. Then there's arguments, then there's a private chat that shoots up, then there's they've ousted that boy, and then there's problems going on there. So all those things that are happening are concerning, and that's why gaming becomes an issue. A more recent game, which I was really concerned about, which looked like it was fine on Roblox, is a Grow a Garden. Is that the one? So Grow a Garden, all the kids are telling you, that's Grow a Garden, but at the moment you're trying to, some people are trying to give you things like gifts in the game, but you have to chat to them about giving you gifts. Like, who are you talking to? Oh, this particular person gave me a unique gift, and it's just like, who are they? Well, why are they giving you gifts? What's going on, you know? So you don't know who they're chatting to from the primary school level right through to the high school level, and that's the concern with it. So I think those particular games are going to be looked into in a particular perspective about the components of chat and that. I don't know if it's going to be as fun for those particular young people to play those games. Let's face it, I think they enjoy the chat part and interacting with people, but the game itself is probably going to be around for a little while. So that's really what I wanted to come across and mention. You know, we need to make sure our young people are not they're having realistic relationships with each other, not synthetic relationships, not unrealistic relationships, not who they're talking to, how are they getting on with their conversation and their connections to people, both at school and online. It's really important that that's kind of. So I hope this evening's presentation has given everyone an understanding of that, and I'm going to put you through to Don. You're going to finish up with a good few statistics.
Just briefly, thank you. Could you just raise your hand if you have predominantly children in the junior school? Predominantly, one each? Okay. I'm going to show you some stats that are from the senior school. They're current, and they're our stats, and it tells you what happens once they hit us. It might be too late. So let's have a quick look, and I won't spend too much time on it because I'd like Deb and Verity to talk about some of the resources and things we've got there. So, look, do you have a mobile phone, computer, tablet in your bedroom overnight? So sometimes is 17%, and yes is around 51%. So you're looking at over 65% of kids in the Cedar School, right? And that's 680 responses, mathematically super high accuracy. So I can extrapolate over the whole 1,000 boys that there would be, you know, over 600 of them that have a device in their bedroom overnight connected to the internet. Okay, big alarm bell, bang, first thing. Let's jump through. We don't have to talk about that too much, but please put your hand up if you want me to clarify. And it just shows you what happens by the time they get to us, right, by the time they get to us. Have you pulled an all-nighter? Look, I'm trying to use their terminology. With that, I'm not a gamer. I haven't got time to game. I don't even play ball with my dog sometimes. So this one here says, did you pull an all-nighter, which was anything after around 4 a.m. And if you have a look, the yeses are 40%, right? 40%, and parents probably don't know that. Probably don't know that. And like I said, I fit myself in that category once as well, because my daughter was surfing the internet and I thought she was sleeping, dreaming about Bambi, right? So you can see what's happening there. That's why they're falling asleep in our classes, and we see it all the time. And sleep, major issue, like Paul Dana said, for every one of us. Do you have sets of rules at home with regards to technology? So parental rules, they're not parental controls, right? They're rules, okay? 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever it is. And the no is 35%, and yes, but I don't really stick to them, is about 12%. So you can see, we're talking, I can't see. So here's your device. There's the guy, the Russian guy from Amazon. There's the box of pornography, right, like we showed you. I thought that was spot on. And you can have it all night, no problem. And by the way, pornography that I didn't see when I was a kid, right? We talked to the kids about that. I had to work hard to get pornography when I was a kid, seriously. And it was just a picture, right? Look, human beings, right? They look at other human beings in states of undress. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Well, if I am, I'm in big trouble, right? So now, right, we worked hard as kids to have a look at anything like that of a person in a state of undress, really hard, and it was static, image tamed. That guy in that video was right. Even some of the darker pornography, you got it, buddy. And that's, how is that forming them? It's not about holding hands with a girlfriend for the first time. What are they thinking from what they see online? Scary stuff. Scary stuff. Let's keep going.
Just saying that, Don, too, I suppose you to touch on the fact that a lot of people are saying, well, why are we being social media, but pornography you can still access at the click of a button without verification? That is coming in its trial period in December. March will be, if you want to, you upload your licence to say you're over 18. France already does it. They almost get given like a, you get a CRN for Medicare, you might get a PRN, I guess it would be called. Yeah, you log that in to say, look, I'm jumping on, I'm watching what I want.
Here's my point of reference. No, I didn't mean that. So, it's getting late in the night. I think we could hear all day. So, that's exactly right. So other countries, in Australia as well, age verification for 18 years of age is going to occur as well. So you can't just click, they tell me this, I don't know, click, I am over 18, bang, you're in, right? So it's going to be much harder. So even around the world, they've done that before us as well. So as you can see, this one here says, let's see if I haven't missed anything. Right. This one here says, this one's the disturbing one. And I'll go quickly. We talk to our students, right, and we talk to year 7 and 8. About 360 students, 300 of them responded. Mathematically, super high accuracy, okay? And these are young kids. Have you seen disturbing content? And prior to doing the survey, we told them what that was. Not Bruce Lee films, right? Karate, whatever. Not your Marvel film, but serious violence, murder, death, that, all the worst things you could possibly see, and they responded like that. 80% of 11 and 12-year-olds, by the time they get here, right, have seen disturbing content. I don't want to see it. Affects me. Like seriously, I'll have a nightmare, I'll be upset, not good. And I'm hardened, an older person, right? So think about a little 8, 9, 10-year-old boy or girl and what they're seeing. Right? We need to protect them. Me too, all of us need to protect them, and that's why we're here tonight, and hopefully we'll give you some strategies in a minute. So, look, this is interesting too. How did they see it? They could answer more than one here, so if you add up the percentages, it went up to 100. Those mathematicians in there, I got you before you start. Right? So, pop-ups, they just pop up. Right? No control. Bang. 167 of those kids said pop-up. A link sent to me. They're sending them to each other. They're just kids. It's not their fault. We're not saying that. But we're giving them the opportunity to do it. We're giving them the tools to do it. And they're just kids. They're going to do it, right? False links. Playing a game, right? That's the fear. And that's why the E-Safety Commission is trying to direct gaming sites, even though they got through this loophole, to try and up their game with safety procedures. How successful? Well, I don't know. I don't know how successful that is. Searched for it, we still had 10% of these kids, 29 who searched for it, and they're going to search, right? And the last one there, those are the kids who didn't, who hadn't come across any of that type of content. How did it make you feel? Look, this one killed me and Dad, we were looking at it as well, right? Scared, anxious, upset, all the normal things, and then look down the bottom where it says no reaction. 119 kids clicked no reaction because, and we told them it was seriously disturbing content. They knew. They're not dumb, they knew it was serious beheadings, we told them. 119 times they said it didn't affect them, or it's no emotion. That's a scary thing because this is the next generation coming up. Now, if I wanted to be funny, I'd say these are the ones who are going to look after me in a nursing home and they're not going to care less about me because they don't care about you. So I'm not trying to be funny.
Is this still the whole summer school?
No, this is
Year
7 and 8.
Yeah,
Right now, I'm glad you asked that. Another $20 to you for that. Because if you go into the older age groups, the percentages go way up. Way up. So if we say 80% of these young kids have seen disturbing content, you're going pretty close to 100% when you get to 11 and 12, or even 9 and 10 maybe, or we can extrapolate that. Yeah.
Are they different though? Like, is there a lot higher percentage of no emotion at that higher level, at that older level?
If we were being mathematical about it and extrapolating, you'd probably say yes.
Because they're more desensitised.
And because they've seen it.
And this is before the Charlie Kirk and I or anything. This was like last year, so this is before that, which I think nearly everyone thought like it was everywhere.
And we know what happens to recurrence of exposure. When I became a teacher, the first thing I said to my supervisor is, "Where's my cane?" Right? That's what I said. I was looking at my cane because I got cane, well, not because I was a good kid, but they caned us, right? Public school, I'm Catholic, right? Public school, they caned us. I became a teacher. I wanted a cane because I thought that was what was done. Domestic violence. Grow up in domestic violence family. Look at the research. Desensitised. Very, very scary when we first saw this. And these are our kids here. These are our kids. Not Russian kids, not American kids. These are our kids. Any questions about that? It's pretty obvious what we're showing you here. Maybe last one. Did you tell somebody? Okay. So, no, over 50% of those kids that saw beheadings and violent acts and death, etc., didn't tell anybody. So they're dealing with it internally. Oh, come on. I'm having trouble and I'm 62 trying to deal with some things, and these kids are 8, 9 and 10. These kids are 11 and 12. Trying to deal with this psychologically, and they're developing. What sort of adults are we going to develop into? That's the thing I'm quite concerned about. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Verity in this case. We're going to try and end the lesson. Sorry, lesson. What am I doing? Hasn't been the job. Let's stand for you, sorry. We're trying to end the presentation with some resources and strategies and a conversation about the future, which Verity will do as well.
So a lot of these resources that I've put together here have come from the E-Safety Commissioner, their website themselves. So it's a really good place to start, actually, if you're wondering what you can do to get prepared now. So I've broken it down into parents and young people. So parents, the first thing, and you are here doing that right now, is getting informed and being prepared. So understanding why it's coming in, what's going to be banned, so that you can answer the questions from your students. Know the exceptions. Expect a range of emotions. That's a really important one. And it says down a little bit lower, be empathetic and non-judgmental. That's going to be really hard if you don't have an addiction to these social media apps, to be empathetic. But we've got to remember that this is going to be like a physical withdrawal from drugs. Okay, so we really need to try to be empathetic. As I said, use the E-Safety Commissioner's website. In the prep phase, you can focus on connection alternatives. Now, we know that messenger services and things like that are not going to be banned. So if your children are worried that they're not going to have access to their friends online. It's about them starting to get that access. So getting phone numbers or getting their WhatsApp connections so that they can still connect socially with their friends. Strengthen digital literacy skills. Now this is one that is an ever-changing environment and it's something that we try to do here at school as much as possible, but with the introduction of AI, that is constantly changing. So it's about trying to teach them that pretty much now everything you see online could be fake, and trying to teach them the skills of working out whether it is real or not, which is a real difficulty for us as teachers too. So we're with you. And model healthy habits. If you are someone who's sat on your phone a lot, you know, it's hard for the kid to go, well, hang on, you're on it, so why can't I be? So it's trying to reduce perhaps your own use. Dealing with the emotional fallout, try and be really open and honest and keep that communication open. The last thing you want is just your children just shutting down and not talking to you about how they're feeling. Obviously we're here to support as well at school, but those first 7 weeks, that's you. And the last one there is support the development of new interests and trying to, you know, help promote actually going and meeting their friends in person, or, you know, organising meetups and things like that at the shops or whatever it is, just so they can still feel that social aspect. Young people, what they can do is they can start to create that friends list and get those connections, those phone numbers, the WhatsApp and that sort of thing, and also start organising their own face-to-face meetups. There is more information on this next point. It's saving and downloading personal data from your apps. I think we've got a handout that actually goes through app by app how you can do that. Okay, you can download everything that you have already put on those social media. And the young people can also ask questions. Ask questions to their teachers, ask questions to you about the law, talk about it, their emotional feelings, see the school counsellor if they need it. And the last one there is ask for help. That's all of us really, parents and young people, ask for help. We are here to try and support you as much as possible. I'm not going to go through all of these individually, but again, these are from the e-Commissioner. It was a really good breakdown. I think it was about a sort of 4-page document that gave you lots of different examples about ways to start some open-ended conversations with your young people. You know, talking about, first of all, how they're feeling about the upcoming ban, but then also delving in a little bit deeper. Okay, and thinking about starting to reduce their use of these apps now so that it's not such a cold turkey when it comes to December 10. Thank you. On to Dave.
Alright, I'll go way over time. So we've got a lot of things here that we've made for you to help support you. I had a few questions on the RSVP. You could ask some questions. Some of them were about what resources we've got, are there any movies, things like that people can watch. So we've compiled a pretty good list of resources. This is the how-to guide is over there on the bench. For each app, Facebook is all the things that they can download their data now, save it in a spot, so if they need to reload it from 2016 or whatever, it will all be saved. Okay, so start doing it now, because if everyone's trying to do this in Australia, it will take a very long time. So get your kid on it now before other schools are finding this, and we'll be in front. And that's what it looks like. Paul Litherland was a Western Australian police officer, he's been Australian, he's all over this stuff. Okay, secondly, I've compiled a list of movies and series and where they're streaming or where you can get them from, what they're about, and some discussion prompts if you would like to watch them with your teens and tweens. They're in age categories, so there's some, 7, 10s, 13s, blah, 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 all those things. There's handouts over there on the side, you don't need to worry about this, I've got handouts over there. These are things that I follow, this is where I've lived my life since my kids were born, in terms of always trying to get decisions that are best for my kids. I am part of the Heads Up Alliance. We're actually the ones who petitioned Parliament and got this over the line. The East Commissioner was against us at the start. We petitioned her pretty hard, and she is now on board, thankfully, because she is where the power comes from. So Heads Up Alliance is a fantastic resource. It's on the sheet. You can join up, and it's a whole big community of parents who are delaying smartphones, okay, which obviously links to social media. WakeMate is another one. You just simply sign up. I put my name in, and it says what school I'm at, what age I want to delay my kid's smartphone to. And then as soon as 8, 9 other families in the school do it, it shares all that information, and we've made a group of 10 who are all saying, I'm not giving my kid a smartphone until later. So this is aimed at junior school, because obviously seeing our high schools most have it. Alright, so if we start this in kindy, right, before that course is bolted, and keep our kids off these things, it's not going to be like this. I think this will be a 10-year rollover before our kids are really feeling the full effect of this ban. But Waymate's a fantastic resource, as I said, without you having to go, hey, do you have a smartphone? This way you just do a quick chuck it on, and then they link you all up. Alright, whole bunch of things. Control Shift, another one. Kira Bendergast, she was against Heads Up Alliance and the social media ban. She's an ex-police officer. She went to a school, got hammered by these kids with the way they were speaking to her and stuff. She ended up bawling and saying, right, that's it, I'm on board now. Alright, there's heaps of things there. Again, on a handout over there for you to look at. I follow them online because I don't have time to go in on their websites. Fantastic excerpts just on Facebook that I quickly read about, great, or share or whatever. And lastly, Control Shift, there's a guide that we'll be handing out over there for you guys. We'll be handing out to our kids as well, a guide for them about all the stuff we're talking here. We are trying to have a PC lesson for 7, 8 and 9 in the high school, and we'll try and do something similar down in the junior school, a very quick brief version of what we've done here. And this book here is another one, if you need to help your kid understand the why. This book is from America, from Screen Strong, but they've just brought it out so that we can buy it here. It's fantastic. It talks about everything in a really kid-friendly way with activities and stuff like that. And now we're back over to Don to wrap us up.
Oh yeah, look, seriously, the eSafety Commission, thank you, the eSafety Commission site is the place to go. There's a lot, right? There's some resources from Think You Know and other places there, but it's extensive. For parents, for teachers and for kids as well, they can all go there, and it's really terrific spot. But like I said, I think we're going to email some of that to you as well. So those documents there have links on them, so we email them to you, you can go and use them as well. This is basically, look, you can sign up for this, but I believe you'll get the same information that you got tonight from us. Okay, but if you'd like to do that to reinforce the Safety Commission's strategies for helping your kids December 6th, please do so as well. Now that is question time, if there are any right now. Are there any questions before we sort of allow you to absorb that and go off into the world of the internet? I'm going to thank Belinda and Verity and Deb, also Matt, for allowing us to go ahead with this. We feel strongly about it, as you know. They're our kids while we're here, we're not their parents, but we care about them a lot, and you know, we're here with them quite a lot as well. So it's for us to be able to support you anyway, even after tonight. Please contact us if you have any questions. Please stay behind if you have a question you want to ask that you didn't want to ask in the big group, and we're very happy to help. Take any of the hard copy. We'll send you some links to those documents. Deb put some wonderful ones together with all those links you can go to. But thank you very, very, very much for coming. I appreciate it.